You're watching us live from Fumban in the west region of Cameroon. It is time for the news here on DBS Television. We begin with the headlines. The international community focuses attention this 26th day of June to fight against illegal drugs. The fight extends to the abusive use of drugs and illegal sales. In this newscast, we will examine the fight, which our reporter says is a concern of the entire public. In politics, CPDM militants in Vuri division have publicly thrown their weight behind Paul Biya as their presidential candidate for the 2018 Unity Palace contest. They all gathered yesterday Monday at the party house in Bonanjo, Douala, to affirm their loyalty and support to their national chairman and hero. In this memorial, 15 years gone so fast, and Cameroonians are still having fresh memories of Marc-Vivien Foé, former midfielder of the Indomitable Lions, who died in France during the 2003 Confederation Cup semi-finals match between Cameroon and Colombia. He is remembered for his contribution in the progress of sport in Cameroon. Details of these stories and more up next in the news. Please do not go away. We will be right back. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the primetime edition of the news here on DBS Television. Today is the 26th of June 2018. We begin with this sports briefing. The match pitting Argentina versus Nigeria, they are already on the halftime, and the scoreline situation is 1 goal in favor of Argentina. Nigeria is down by no goal. The other match in that same group, Iceland versus Croatia, they are also on halftime, and the scoreline situation is 0 goal on either side. The fight against illegal drugs as an individual or collective effort is a worry our reporter Wambatansi Mirabel is looking at as the world commemorates this June 26, the International Day for the Fight Against Illegal Drugs. Her report.
The United Nations, Cameroon and the rest of the world are commemorating the International Day for the Fight Against Illegal Drugs this June 26, a battle Cameroon has been combating with government assistance alongside the forces of law and order, daring into diverse areas to either stop the importation of heroin, marijuana, cocaine, the list is long, and bring perpetrators to book, or destroys those infiltrating the country. Starting to find out from a specialist why the consumption of drugs is so obvious in Cameroon, especially amongst the youth, he underscored.
The reason why you have mostly young people taking drugs, that the most important factor that can lead to a drug abuse is the exposition to drug products, and the people are used to start taking drugs when they are young, when they are teenage.
But he also added that it could be avoided and drug addict treated.
Yes, we do have treatments. Yes, it's very treatable. People can be completely cured for the addiction. It's a pathway which consists with falls and wake up. It's not easy to get yourself rid.
A situation which is gradually becoming complicated to the victim in a society where everything goes.
I want to say that in Cameroon we have so many drugs that some youth have to take. So we have like marijuana that people Cameroon like in our contest. We have marijuana, and then we have to that drug that we call tramol.
But these psychologists at the same time hammers on the fact that drugs addicts who may not be fortunate to have a specialist to follow them up properly could benefit from parental care and advice for recycling depending on the level of addiction. A worrying situation the government of Cameroon have been striving hard through the Ministry of Health and other structures to sensitize the public on the diverse negative effects of the consumption of drugs. In Cameroon, the importation and consumption of drugs is gradually on the rise. So who is doing what to ensure that things get to normalcy, notwithstanding all the health talks and campaigns organized to eradicate illicit drugs? A question which needs to be examined and answered by all Cameroonians because they are either infected or affected by this phenomenon.
And we talk some politics. CPDM militants from all 5 subdivisions of Vuri in the Littoral region have reaffirmed their loyalty and support to the national chairman, President Paul Biya. During a grand meeting at the party house in Douala yesterday, members of the ruling party called on Mr. Biya to stand as their candidate in the upcoming presidential elections. Ate Bonaventure completes that story.
Militants of Wuri 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 subsections of the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement Party and sympathizers gathered massively this Monday at the CPDM Party House in Bonanjo to profess and reaffirm their support to their national chairman, President Paul Biya, who to them remains the one who can captain Cameroon towards emergence. Prominent amongst the participants were Governor Samuel Dieudonné Ivaha-Dibwa, under whose auspices the meeting held, and some senior party officials like Camille Ekindi and Eve Emmanuel Com. Speaking during the event, the various spokespersons and chargés de mission commended the efforts of their chairman in fostering peace, security and development in Cameroon, and equally thanked him for the various measures he has taken so far aimed at solving the ongoing socio-political upheavals in the northwest and southwest regions.
Still in politics, and this time talking about appreciation, one of the CPDM senators for the Vuri constituency, Patience Ebombo, has organized a Thanksgiving church service following her success in the recent senatorial elections. Different speakers at the occasion promised to stand by her in the challenges that lie ahead. Philip Sote completes that story.
She is a telecommunications engineer by training, but has been more into politics. A political career that saw her rise to alternate senator in 2013 and to full senator during the recent senatorial elections, a political track record that has motivated this Thanksgiving ecumenical church service to thank God for political successes and to thank President Paul Biya for her investiture that enabled voters to elect her as senator. It was at the Église Évangélique du Cameroun, Bonaberi, and here the senator took the solemn vow to serve the interests of the population in the Senate. To demonstrate her commitment to the spirit of togetherness, Senator Ebombo opted for a religious service that brought together the Christian and Muslim clergy to jointly pray for peace, tolerance, and the culturally diverse people of Cameroon. CPDM supporters clad in party attire took center stage, but traditional rulers also put up a formidable presence. The stage is now set for her to get down to full action, granted that 5 years from now, she will be expected to give an account of how her mandate has been able to impact positively on the lives of the population within her constituency.
In a related story, Akere Mona of the Popular Front for Development, FPD, has been invested as that party's candidate for the 2018 presidential elections. This took place in Gaoundéré over the weekend, as Rail Ule Abia reports.
It was during a consultation held in Gaoundéré in the Adamawa region for the Popular Front for Development Party based in the Far North region that Barrister Akere Mona was announced as candidate for the 2018 presidential elections. It was announced in October 2017 and he was elected on June 23, 2018 within the said party. His candidature is said to be supported by the Now movement that took the opportunity to hold a meeting at the regional capital of Adamawa. While addressing his party members and sympathizers, the former bâtonnier denounced the state of affairs in the country, taking, for example, the bad state of road networks, plus the political unrest in both south and northwest regions of Cameroon. The 66 years old decided to commune with his compatriots, expressing that his campaign and vision is centered on prosperity, social justice, and solidarity.
Before we move on to the news, we bring this brief. Argentina versus Nigeria. The match is ongoing, and Nigeria has equalized. The scoreline situation now is 1 goal on either side. The goal was scored by Victor Moses. We talk some religious news. The Presbyterian Christian Leaders Association, under its French acronym SEPCA, recently held a 4-day training program to train her members on income generation activities. The objective was to autonomize the church, as Ajara Ali tells us in this report.
Building a professional business plan and how to generate income is the brain behind this Christian association movement under the Presbyterian Synod. Coming from all the corners of the country, this meeting in Betua said their mission is to achieve the capacity goal, which run for 4 days.
I'm the appointed deacon of Betua Baptist Church, Barry Sylvester, and I'm representing the church here in this seminar of how to generate income by submitting a request to the hierarchy so that they can approve it and finance the project.
With the peace and love for Christ, these men and women of God say they can now go back with a brain in line with what they have gathered so far in setting up a business plan, equally keeping a professional ethics that will generate income to their church.
I've learned how to write the objective, the goal, and the purpose of a project. We also learned what makes a project accepted, what makes a project refused. And we have also learned that with the help of God, where others fail, we will be able to succeed. We are going to take this information back to the church and equally organize so that those who have not been here should benefit from this project.
In this line of training, SEPCA wishes that its trainees should be part of action in the days ahead to make the Christian church autonomous in raising finance. These members on their part say they are going back home pregnant with knowledge.
We still remain with religious news and still in Betua. The Archdiocese of Betua last Sunday ordained new priests and deacons. The Metropolitan Archbishop of Betua, Joseph Atanga, during this ordination invited these new men of God to be an example of Christ, obey his laws and love one another. Staff Lady De Vanessa tells us more.
There were in total 5 priests and 5 deacons that were ordained in the Holy Family Cathedral of Betua. The ordination was symbolical to Jesus' entrance to Jerusalem with songs of praise and worship. The sermon during the ordination was inspired from the Gospel of St. Luke, chapter 10, the verses 1 to 9, where the Metropolitan Archbishop called on the newly ordained shepherds to live and walk in the way of Christ Jesus. The ordained priests and deacons responded to the call as they followed the ordination rites and oath-taking. Animations and chants from the cathedral choir characterized the sermon. The ordination of the men of God is a call to lead the congregation towards the right way, to sow the seed of faith, and carry out evangelism for the growth of the gospel, thereby enriching God's kingdom. It should be recalled that before becoming a Roman Catholic priest, you must undergo at least 6 years in the minor seminary and 7 or more years at the major seminary. Meantime, those who began their training at the major level can also be ordained after 7 or more years, depending on the observations of those in charge of the training.
We move over to the West region. The inhabitants of Fumban in that part of the country gathered recently to pay homage to El Haj Manore Mfuapon, who passed on at the age of 110. We have details with Seka Zubairatu from Fumban.
Prayers and expression of culture were the 2 main ideas centered around the commemoration of El Hadji Manoe Fumpon, who went to meet his ancestor recently. El Hadji Manoe Fumpon was the first Cameroonian who initiated agro-pastoralship in Cameroon so many years ago, reason why the Fumban community came out in numbers to pay their tribute and celebrate this legend. According to the Son of the Soil in Fumban, this ceremony is to pray and render grace to God for his soul to be resting in peace. It did not end at the level of prayers. Some rituals were equally manifested. One of the attendants says it is important to write one's history, and it is a footstep that each Cameroonian needs to follow. It was equally an occasion for each individual to recount a bit of what they know of El Ahaji Manore Fumpong Ismail. Also, it was said that the first people in the world had started practicing the spirit of together and how to develop the country, and today Ahaji Ismail is cited as one of them.
We remain in the West region. The government action to implement the textbook for a subject, one textbook for a subject across the national territory has been welcomed with mixed feelings by Liberians of Bafoussam. Details of this story with Nde Vanessa once more.
Parents and Liberians in the West region have received the government's action to implement a textbook per subject with joy and pains. The year has come to an end and parents are looking forward to the next academic year, a year that will be different from others, with a government vision to revert to one textbook per subject, an idea which is appreciated by parents in this locality.
We are happy with the idea of the government to implement a textbook per subject for this 2018-2019 school year.
C'est bien pour moi parce que le fait avant on avait plusieurs variétés de livres.
It is good because at first we were confused with the type of textbooks to choose for our children. In the meantime, individuals and Liberians representing their local publishing houses appreciate the efforts of the government, but say they will incur heavy losses as textbooks market will be less competitive. This lady says that at least 2 years will have been given to them to cover up the loans from banks and get themselves ready to the new vision of one textbook per subject.
Beaucoup de dommages parce qu'il n'y a rien qui encourage pour pouvoir subventionner les livres qu'on a mis au programme.
It is unfortunate for us because there is nothing to help us subvent for the losses. We wish the government does something to indemnify us for the loss we are going to incur.
These Liberians, however, are waiting on the parents before they order for the books. Like it is commonly said, you can't make an omelette without breaking eggs. In every good action, there must be some losses.
In our foreign page tonight, angry over the constant flow of illegal migrants pouring over the US-Mexico border, US President Donald Trump now says all illegal migrants should be deported immediately without a trial. The White House said it is running out of resources to keep migrant families together until their cases are heard by a judge. We have details courtesy VOA.
Protesters gathered outside a detention facility in a Texas border town on Monday, demonstrating against criminalizing illegal migrants, many of whom are running away from poverty and terror. U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions said illegal immigrants must be prosecuted to ensure the safety of U.S. citizens.
It would be an insult to those who come here legally, waiting their turn, making their application, and most importantly, it would encourage and has already encouraged more adults to bring more children illegally on a dangerous journey that puts these children at great risk.
President Trump signed an executive order last week to stop separating immigrant children from their families, but now says that all those who come in illegally should be deported without any legal process.
We want a system where when people come in illegally, they have to go out.
Some rights advocates say what the president suggests is unconstitutional.
The framers of the Constitution said that due process applies to all persons, not all citizens, and they did that deliberately so that all persons, including non-citizens, would have the right to due process. That's in contrast to other provisions in the Constitution that specifically use the word citizens to say that it's off limits to non-citizens. Due process applies to everyone.
But the current immigration process can take 3 to 4 years. The White House press secretary on Monday warned that the means to maintain immigrant families while they await processing are running out.
The president is focused on securing our borders and reforming our immigration system to prevent the crisis at the border from getting worse.
The White House on Monday accused Democrats in Congress of rejecting any solution proposed by Republicans to fix the system. Trump says his predecessors have failed to secure U.S. borders and blames illegal immigration for a host of crimes in the United States. Zlatica Hoke, VOA News, Washington.
Like we heard in the lead stories, Cameroonians today and the entire sports community commemorate the death of former Indomitable Lions midfielder Marc-Vivien Foé. He died on June 26 in France during the semi-final match of the 2003 Confederation Cup pitting Cameroon and Colombia at the 72nd minute. A first autopsy did not determine an exact cause of his death, but a second autopsy concluded that Foé's death was heart-related. Marc-Vivien's departure causes a profound shock to the sports community, and every year various commemorative activities are organized in honor of his contributions to the development of sports in Cameroon. May his soul be saved. Now we talk the groups A and B of the ongoing FIFA World Cup have already produced their candidates for the 8th finals of the tournament. Host country Russia, that suffered her first defeat, will face Portugal, while Uruguay, that came out first in Group A, takes on the 2010 Cup winners Spain. Here are some highlights of those matches that qualified them for second round.
Arnie's arriving. It's kind of 2 against 2 for a moment. Still might be something there. It is Luis Suarez, and it's in! Deflected effort and in! Uruguay! Here comes the corner kick, and they've got a third! To react, as he so often has been in a distinguished career.
Gonna hit it. It's travelling, but it's straight. Brilliant from Ricardo Quaresma. Here goes Cristiano Ronaldo. He goes over, and Portugal get. Jahanbakhsh with the ball in, and it topsy-turvy. Again, is this the moment where Patricio?
Well, given away, and Boutaïb has a clear run here. Iniesta dances away, beautifully done, Isco! Amrabat. Oh, and he's so unlucky. Isco! Bajar's corner's a good one. Oh, yeah.
That was the bit we put together in this edition of the news. The match pitting Argentina versus Nigeria is still at 1 goal on either side. The first goal for Argentina came in through Lionel Messi in the first half, and Nigeria equalized in the second half by Victor Moses. In that news, we heard about the international community focusing attention today, 26th of June, to fight against illegal drugs. In this newscast, a reporter told us that the fight is a concern for everybody, and CPDM militants in Vuri Division publicly threw their weight behind Paul Biya as the presidential candidate for the 2018 presidential election. And today, like we saw in the news, marks the anniversary of the death of Marc-Vivien Foé. 15 years already. He died in the match between Cameroon and Colombia in France in 2003 Confederation Cup semi-final match. The next newscast will be coming up in the French language at 9 p.m. with Luc Serge Didier Nang. As for me, we'll be together again, same time for what would have made news. Until then, good night.